Friends, if you want to watch the upcoming action-packed movie Havoc 2025 in English, then make sure to like this video. And if you're visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to Facts and Review for more exciting updates. In today's video, we'll be talking about a thrilling and much-awaited movie, Havoc 2025. We'll cover everything you need to know about this film, what this movie is all about, where you can watch it, and all the interesting facts connected to it. I'll also be sharing complete details on which OTT platform or satellite channel you'll be able to watch Havoc on. We'll dive deep into the movie's technical aspects, music direction, pre-production phase, filming, post-production process, overall budget, and box office collection. Not only that, we'll also explore the film's story, give you a short review, and talk about the powerful performances by the cast. We'll discuss who played which character and how well they performed their roles. Plus, we'll uncover some behind-the-scenes facts and exciting plot points of the film. So, my dear friends, make sure to watch this video till the end for the full breakdown of Havoc 2025. Havoc 2025, Plot and Narrative Analysis, Third-Person Perspective. Havoc 2025 tells a gritty, emotionally intense story set against the backdrop of a corrupt and crime-ridden city. The narrative unfolds in a dark, urban landscape where violence, betrayal, and survival collide. The film follows a largely conventional three-act structure, but with elements of noir and psychological thriller that add layers of complexity to its storytelling. Beginning, Act I, Setup. The story begins in the aftermath of a drug deal gone disastrously wrong. A seasoned but morally conflicted detective, Walker, played by Tom Hardy, is introduced as the central protagonist. Tasked with cleaning up the mess, Walker soon discovers that the situation is far deeper than a simple criminal bust. It's a web of political corruption, gang rivalry, and police complicity. When the son of a powerful politician goes missing amid the chaos, Walker is reluctantly pulled deeper into the underworld, setting the stage for an investigation that quickly becomes personal. Middle, Act II, Confrontation. The middle act takes the audience into the heart of the city's criminal ecosystem. As Walker ventures further into dangerous territory, the film uses a gritty, almost claustrophobic tone to depict the psychological unraveling of its characters. This section of the film experiments subtly with perspective, offering brief moments from the viewpoints of secondary characters like informants, criminals, and the kidnapped son himself, adding richness and depth. Here, key turning points include Walker uncovering evidence that implicates his own department in the criminal operations, a betrayal by someone close to him that raises the emotional and moral stakes, a brutal confrontation with a crime boss that forces Walker to abandon protocol and operate by his own code. The narrative explores themes of moral ambiguity, loyalty, and the psychological cost of violence. Rather than portraying the hero as a flawless figure, Havoc delves into Walker's mental and emotional decline, making his journey more human and harrowing. End, Act III, Resolution. The final act builds towards a tense, blood-soaked climax as Walker fights his way through layers of corruption to rescue the kidnapped boy. The pacing accelerates, the action intensifies, and the story narrows in focus, returning to the core relationship between Walker and the victim, a symbolic redemption arc. In the end, while justice is served in a rough, morally grey fashion, the victory comes at a cost. Walker survives but is irrevocably changed. The film closes on a somber yet thought-provoking note, hinting that in a city like this, Havoc never truly ends, it only changes form. Narrative style. While Havoc mostly adheres to a linear structure, it incorporates elements of neo-noir storytelling, including shadowy cinematography, ambiguous morality, and sporadic non-linear flashbacks to Walker's past cases and personal trauma. These devices enhance the emotional weight of the story and provide context for his inner demons. Thematic and emotional impact. The story hits hard emotionally, not just because of its intense action and violence, but because of its raw portrayal of human struggle, against systems, against betrayal, and against oneself. The theme of redemption echoes through every act, and the narrative's refusal to provide easy answers leaves a lasting impression. Overall, Havoc 2025 combines conventional structure with stylized storytelling and layered character arcs to deliver a gripping, morally complex cinematic experience. Detective Walker, Tom Hardy, the flawed antihero. Detective Walker is the heart of the narrative. Introduced as a gritty, street-hardened cop, Walker is a man shaped by years of navigating the morally corrupt underbelly of a broken city. His development is the most profound in the film. At first, he appears to be just another law enforcer on autopilot, cynical, emotionally closed off, and functioning under a strict but personal code of justice. However, as the story progresses, Walker's layers begin to peel away. The botched drug deal and subsequent kidnapping force him to confront not only the city's corruption but his own complicity and past failures. His character arc is one of reckoning and reluctant redemption. Through a series of trials, betrayal by allies, exposure to systemic rut, and emotional confrontations with victims and criminals alike, Walker begins to change. By the end of the film, he transforms from a hardened cop into a man seeking atonement. He doesn't emerge unscathed, physically or emotionally, but he reclaims a sense of personal truth and moral clarity. This transformation anchors the film's emotional core. 2. The kidnapped politician's son, the catalyst. Though initially a background figure, the kidnapped son becomes more than just a plot device. As the narrative unfolds, he is shown to be resourceful and intelligent, using his time in captivity to understand the power structures around him. His perspective, shared through brief flashbacks and subtle moments, helps humanize the stakes and paints a stark contrast to the adult world's moral decay. His bond with Walker in the final act is poignant, symbolizing hope amidst chaos. Their dynamic creates an emotional turning point, particularly for Walker, who sees in the boy a chance to protect something uncorrupted, unlike his own past. 3. The crime boss, the mirror opposite. Every strong protagonist needs a formidable antagonist, and Havoc delivers one in the form of the elusive crime boss, a man who operates with cold logic and deep understanding of the system's weaknesses. He's not just a villain, he's a reflection of what Walker could become if he continues down a path of compromise and cynicism. The antagonist's philosophy, that chaos is the true state of the world and order is an illusion, challenges Walker's own beliefs. Their confrontations are as much ideological as they are physical, providing critical narrative tension. 4. Secondary characters, shades of grey. The supporting cast in Havoc also contributes significantly to the film's depth. Walker's police partner, loyal but compromised, this character's gradual unraveling serves as a cautionary tale and a source of betrayal. A female informant, trapped between fear and survival, her backstory adds emotional weight and shows the real-world consequences of systemic corruption. The politician father, desperate to protect his career more than his son, his hypocrisy highlights the film's theme of moral decay among the powerful. These characters, though not central, are far from flat. Each has their own motivations and conflicts, adding nuance and emotional complexity to the narrative landscape. Character arcs and thematic impact. The characters in Havoc do not follow clean arcs of good and evil. Instead, they reflect a world where survival often comes at the cost of morality, and redemption is a painful, uncertain path. Walker's journey from moral numbness to sacrificial heroism is particularly impactful, showcasing how personal growth often comes through suffering. The interplay between these characters creates a web of broken relationships, power struggles, and personal reckonings, making the world of Havoc feel lived in, intense, and emotionally raw. Conclusion. In Havoc 2025, character development is not just a subplot, it is the backbone of the film. Each arc is woven into the larger narrative, enhancing both the action and the emotional resonance. The film succeeds in portraying its characters as flawed, realistic individuals, shaped by their environment but still capable of change. Ultimately, it's the human side of Havoc, the regrets, the redemptions, the betrayals, and the bonds, that leaves a lasting impression long after the last bullet is fired. Let me know if you want this adapted into a shorter YouTube-friendly narration script or a bilingual Urdu-English version for your channel. Havoc 2025. Detailed character development analysis, third-person perspective. Havoc 2025 is not just a hard-hitting action thriller, it's a deeply character-driven story. Director Gareth Evans creates a world where every major character is not only reactive to the plot but shaped and transformed by the chaos surrounding them. The film presents a brutal journey through violence, corruption, and redemption, where character growth is central to the emotional power of the narrative. 1. Detective Walker, Tom Hardy, the haunted enforcer. Detective Walker stands as the narrative's emotional spine, a man weathered by years of moral compromise, systemic rut, and personal tragedy. He begins the film as a hardened, almost robotic enforcer of law, a man who doesn't question orders, doesn't form attachments, and operates by instinct more than empathy. However, Walker's trauma is never far beneath the surface. Through subtle flashbacks and reflective moments, the audience learns about a failed case in his past, one that cost the life of a young informant. This past guilt lingers and forms the psychological foundation of his current state. As Walker delves into the city's criminal underworld to rescue the kidnapped boy, he is forced to confront the moral ambiguity of his role. His own department is implicated in the crime network. People he once trusted betray him. His only way forward is to reject the institution he served for years and reclaim his own sense of justice. This transformation is gradual, realistic, and filled with inner conflict. By the final act, Walker is no longer simply surviving. His choosing to act with purpose, even at personal cost. His decision to protect the boy at all costs is symbolic of reclaiming the humanity he thought he had lost. Though he survives, he is emotionally scarred, not redeemed by heroism, but by the painful awareness of what it truly means to save someone. 2. The kidnapped son, the innocent prism. The kidnapped son of a politician, played by a young but compelling actor, starts as a secondary plot device but becomes central to the film's emotional climax. At first, he is voiceless, a representation of powerlessness. But as the film progresses, his resilience begins to emerge. He isn't portrayed as a passive victim. Through moments of defiance, observation, and even attempts at escape, his character arc becomes one of awakening and emotional growth. His trauma, being used as leverage in political and criminal games, mirrors the larger theme of innocence corrupted by power. In the final scenes, his brief bond with Walker becomes a mirror for both characters. Walker sees a chance to protect someone the system failed, and the boy sees in Walker the only adult who chooses to care, not because of politics, but because it's right. 3. The crime lord, order within chaos. The main antagonist is not a cartoonish villain but a disturbingly calm and philosophical crime lord. He is methodical, calculating, and dangerously persuasive. Unlike typical gang leaders, he presents his worldview as order within chaos. He believes society is fundamentally broken and that control through fear is the only viable structure. This character serves as a dark mirror to Walker. Where Walker once blindly upheld law, this antagonist has abandoned all illusions of justice. Their conversations, particularly during a haunting mid-film confrontation, are laced with psychological tension. The villain pushes Walker to admit that the system he serves is no better than the criminal empire the villain runs. This antagonist doesn't just oppose Walker physically, he challenges him ideologically, forcing the protagonist's eventual break from corrupt authority. 4. The corrupt police captain, systemic betrayal. Another powerful secondary character is Walker's superior, a high-ranking officer who appears supportive but is ultimately revealed to be deeply embedded in the crime network. This betrayal is personal, not just procedural. The captain represents the institutional failure that feeds corruption from the inside. His interactions with Walker are rich with tension and false camaraderie. As Walker begins to question orders and follow leads that point inward, their dynamic shifts, from mentor to threat. The captain's exposure later in the film acts as a catalyst for Walker's moral transformation. 5. The female informant, the moral compass. The film features a layered female informant character, a single mother, former addict, and reluctant whistleblower. Her scenes with Walker are emotionally raw. She represents the ordinary people caught in the war between institutions and crime, someone with no protection, no power, and yet the courage to risk everything for truth. She's not romanticized, and she doesn't serve as a love interest. Instead, she's a conscience for the story. Her character reminds Walker, and the audience, what's truly at stake: real lives destroyed by those who abuse power. Her fate, tragic but not forgotten, deeply impacts Walker and gives emotional urgency to his mission. 6. Minor characters with real weight. Even brief characters in Havoc are given purpose. Low-level criminals show the desperation and hierarchy of the street world. A dirty politician, portrayed as slippery and untrustworthy, represents how the upper class thrives on chaos. A young rookie cop who idolizes Walker adds contrast, showing how legacy and disillusionment spread like infection. Each one plays a role in adding depth to the film's world, making it feel alive, harsh, and morally tangled. Final thoughts: growth through suffering. The character arcs in Havoc, 2025, do not follow fairytale patterns of clear growth or simplistic redemption. Instead, they evolve through suffering, violence, and self-awareness. The film doesn't offer perfect heroes or villains. It presents a spectrum of broken people trying to survive, redeem, or dominate. At its heart, Havoc is about what happens to people when systems break down. It's about the choices they make in the wreckage, to become part of the chaos or to fight against it, even when it costs them everything. And through the emotionally laid development of its characters, the film leaves a deep and lasting impact, one that lingers far beyond its gritty visuals and brutal action sequences. Havoc, 2025, Our Performances Analysis, Third-Person Perspective. In Havoc, 2025, the cast's performances are not merely functional, they are the soul of the film. Every role, from lead to supporting, contributes to the film's raw realism and intense emotional weight. Director Gareth Evans, known for combining visceral action with deeply human stories, extracts complex, layered performances from his ensemble that help ground the chaos in genuine human experience. 1. Tom Hardy as Detective Walker, a tour de force. Tom Hardy delivers one of his most restrained yet emotionally powerful performances to date. Known for his physicality and brooding intensity, Hardy transforms Detective Walker into a compelling blend of brute force and broken conscience. From the very first scene, Hardy embodies the weariness of a man burdened by years of compromise and internal conflict. What makes Hardy's performance stand out is not just the physical endurance, through brutal, extended fight sequences choreographed in gritty, one-take style. It's the emotional nuance beneath the surface. His eyes communicate everything: regret, anger, vulnerability, and at times, deep empathy. Without needing exposition-heavy dialogue, Hardy makes us feel the weight of Walker's moral crisis. Key performance highlights include his silent breakdown in a motel room after a betrayal, the climactic scene where he pleads with a child to trust him, breaking through his hardened shell, his final confrontation with the antagonist, where philosophy and violence collide. Hardy elevates the entire film. His performance is the emotional anchor, making even the film's most chaotic moments feel grounded and human. 2. Supporting cast, strength in every role. Forest Whitaker as the corrupt police chief. Whitaker brings gravitas to the role of a morally compromised superior officer. With a mix of calculated calmness and authoritative menace, he captures the tragic duality of a man who once believed in justice but now survives on manipulation and power. His subtle performance, especially in scenes where he masks threats as fatherly advice, enhances the tension and serves as a perfect foil to Hardy's conflicted cop. Timothy Olyphant as the crime lord. Olyphant gives a chilling and sophisticated performance as the main antagonist. He doesn't shout or posture. Instead, he rules through intelligence, poise, and psychological pressure. His conversations with Hardy are laced with existential cynicism and controlled menace, making his presence deeply unsettling. Olyphant's villain isn't driven by rage but by belief, a belief in chaos as the natural order, and his performance makes that ideology terrifyingly plausible. Jessie Mei Li as the informant. As the film's emotional compass, Jessie Mei Li delivers a standout supporting performance. Her portrayal of a reluctant informant, a woman caught between survival, fear, and a desire to do what's right, is filled with quiet desperation and strength. She doesn't have many action scenes, but her emotional exchanges with Walker add depth to his arc. Her performance is subtle, understated, and heartbreaking, especially in the scene where she chooses to put her life at risk to reveal the truth. Rising young actor as the kidnapped son. The young actor portraying the kidnapped politician's son, likely a rising talent, shows impressive range for his age. What could have been a passive or one-note performance is instead filled with believable fear, defiance, and even emotional intelligence. His scenes with Hardy in the final act are among the film's most emotionally resonant. He manages to express trauma, resilience, and a search for trust without excessive dialogue, a testament to both strong direction and natural talent. 3. Ensemble realism, no weak links. What truly sets Havoc apart is how even the smallest roles feel authentic. From the gang members in the back alleys to the disillusioned beat cops and frightened citizens, every actor contributes to the world building. These performances never feel staged or exaggerated. They create a believable urban ecosystem where tension is palpable and danger is constant. The casting choices feel deliberate. Actors aren't chosen for glamour or star power, but for how believably they can inhabit broken, flawed, desperate human beings. 4. Physical and emotional commitment. Across the board, the cast gives physically demanding and emotionally immersive performances. The action scenes, filmed in Gareth Evans' signature style, long takes, brutal hand-to-hand combat, close-quarters chaos, demand real commitment. But what elevates these scenes is that they are not just choreography, they are expressions of character. You can see fear, exhaustion, and raw instinct in the actors' faces, which makes the action far more gripping. Equally, the quiet scenes, moments of reflection, betrayal, or moral conflict, are handled with nuance. The emotional highs and lows are never overplayed. They're internalized, and that makes the performances feel real and affecting. Conclusion: a performance-driven crime epic. Havoc 2025 thrives on the strength of its cast. Tom Hardy delivers a career highlight performance, while every supporting role is treated with weight and purpose. Whether it's through a haunted glance, a whispered threat, or a desperate fight for survival, the actors bring authenticity to a story rooted in violence and redemption. In a genre often driven by spectacle, Havoc uses its performances to explore the psychological cost of chaos, the fragility of morality, and the resilience of those who choose to fight for what's right, even when the system around them is falling apart. These performances don't just support the narrative, they define it. Havoc 2025 Direction Analysis, Third-Person Perspective. Havoc 2025 is not merely an action crime thriller. It is a visceral, cinematic experience molded with precision and vision by director Gareth Evans. Known for his mastery in combining brutal action with layered storytelling, as seen in the Raid films, Evans once again proves his directorial prowess in Havoc, a film that thrives equally on mood, movement, and meaning. Through an unflinching gaze at a corrupt urban landscape, Evans crafts a world where chaos rules, and characters are shaped by survival and guilt. His direction is both stylistically bold and narratively grounded, fusing emotional intensity with kinetic energy in a way few filmmakers can. 1. Establishing tone and mood, gritty, relentless, human. From the opening frames, Evans sets a tone that is dark, oppressive, and emotionally charged. The film immerses the viewer in a bleak, rain-soaked city plagued by crime and institutional decay. The cinematography, sound design, and color palette work together to create an atmosphere that feels both raw and claustrophobic, a perfect metaphor for the psychological states of its characters. Tone, brutal yet introspective. Violence is not glorified but portrayed with emotional consequence. Mood, gritty realism with moments of melancholy and brief, powerful human connection. Sound design, minimalist score punctuated by sudden, jarring sounds during action, enhancing realism. Evans doesn't just depict violence, he builds emotional tension around it. Even in quieter scenes, there's a sense of unease, of danger lurking beneath every conversation and shadow. This careful control of atmosphere keeps viewers emotionally and psychologically engaged. 2. Visual language, composition, lighting, and camera movement. Evans is a visual storyteller, and Havoc reflects his mastery of the medium through every frame. Shot composition. Evans frequently uses tight close-ups to convey psychological distress, particularly on Tom Hardy's face, capturing his inner turmoil without needing dialogue. Wide shots of decaying buildings and narrow alleyways give the setting a haunting presence. The city becomes a character in itself, oppressive and indifferent. Lighting. Low-key lighting dominates, creating deep shadows and harsh contrast. This not only adds visual drama but also mirrors the film's moral ambiguity. In moments of emotional vulnerability, Evans employs softer, more naturalistic lighting, highlighting the rare tenderness in an otherwise harsh world. Camera movement. One of the most notable stylistic elements is Evans' use of long takes and handheld tracking shots, especially during fight scenes. These sequences feel immersive, almost documentary-like, pulling the viewer into the chaos. The camera follows characters closely through confined spaces, using dynamic motion to emphasize urgency and disorientation, a signature Evans technique that intensifies both action and emotional tension. 3. Pacing and rhythm, controlled chaos. Evans maintains a careful balance between high-octane sequences and introspective moments, ensuring that the pacing supports both the narrative and the characters' emotional journeys. The first act is methodical and slow-burning, laying the groundwork for tension and mystery. The second act ramps up the pace significantly with brutal confrontations and mounting stakes, using short bursts of violence to shock and unsettle. The final act is relentless, a descent into full chaos as the protagonist fights not only the criminal empire but the moral collapse around him. Importantly, Evans never allows the pacing to feel rushed or bloated. Every action scene has narrative purpose. Every quiet moment adds emotional or psychological weight. 4. Storytelling choices, non-expository, visually driven. Rather than relying heavily on exposition, Evans allows the story to unfold through visual clues, character behavior, and environment. This restrained storytelling style respects the audience's intelligence and enhances emotion. Key storytelling decisions. Flashbacks are used sparingly and only when emotionally necessary. Dialogue is minimal and functional. Characters reveal themselves more through action than words. The character arcs are revealed gradually, through reactions, decisions, and consequences, not through monologues or forced explanations. This directorial choice strengthens the realism of the world and the believability of the characters, especially in a genre where over-explanation is common. 5. Action as narrative, not just spectacle. Evans is renowned for his action choreography, and in Havoc, he once again sets a new standard. But what sets his action apart is how he uses violence to drive the story and reveal character. Each fight scene has narrative purpose. They are not just obstacles, they are consequences, revelations, or emotional climaxes. Evans avoids over-editing or shaky cam gimmicks. Instead, his action is clear, hard-hitting, and immersive, often shot in extended takes that let the audience feel every punch, fall, and gasp for breath. The violence has emotional weight. After each confrontation, characters are visibly changed, physically and mentally. There's no glorification, only impact. The result is action that is brutal but purposeful, pushing the story forward while deepening the audience's connection with the protagonist. 6. Thematic vision, order versus chaos, redemption, and moral collapse. Gareth Evans infuses Havoc with powerful themes, and his direction ensures these are not just background ideas but living forces in the film. His vision is clear. The story is about a man confronting the chaos around and within him, in a world where justice and corruption are indistinguishable. Under Evans' direction, every character becomes a symbol of a societal or personal truth, from the corrupted cop to the fearful informant, from the political elite to the forgotten victims. The urban setting reflects the protagonist's internal decay. The redemption arc of Detective Walker is not handed to the audience. It's earned through violence, sacrifice, and emotional ruin. Evans doesn't offer easy resolutions. His storytelling respects moral complexity, letting characters grow or collapse through hard choices and consequences. Conclusion: a masterclass in direction. Gareth Evans directs Havoc, 2025, with surgical precision and emotional clarity. His unique blend of hyperrealistic action, minimalist storytelling, and atmospheric tension turns a standard crime narrative into a deeply affecting cinematic journey. Every stylistic choice, from camera movement to pacing, from lighting to sound design, serves the narrative and enhances the viewer's experience. Under his guidance, Havoc becomes more than an action film. It becomes a portrait of decay, both societal and personal, and a brutal meditation on redemption, loss, and the fight for meaning in a world collapsing from within. Would you like this turned into a YouTube script with proper voiceover cues, Urdu-English hybrid narration, or shorter segments for visual editing? I'm happy to help tailor it for facts and review. Havoc, 2025. Cinematography analysis, third-person perspective. In Havoc, 2025, the cinematography plays a critical role in immersing the viewer into the film's harsh, decaying world. Helmed by cinematographer Matt Flannery, a frequent collaborator of director Gareth Evans, the visual style of the film becomes its own narrative voice, gritty, intimate, and atmospheric. Every frame of Havoc reinforces the film's themes: moral ambiguity, chaos within order, personal redemption, and the violence lurking beneath the surface of every institution. From sweeping urban skylines to claustrophobic interior fights, the cinematography creates a visceral and emotionally charged experience that never lets go of the viewer. 1. Camera angles, intimacy, immersion, and disorientation. Havoc employs a highly dynamic camera style that shifts tone and function depending on the scene's purpose. Close-ups and tight framing. The use of tight close-ups, particularly on Tom Hardy's character Walker, draws the viewer into the protagonist's emotional state. Often, the camera lingers on his expression without dialogue, allowing subtle facial cues to express internal conflict, trauma, or determination. Low-angle shots. In scenes depicting authority figures or crime bosses, low angles are used to emphasize dominance and menace. These angles also enhance the psychological tension, placing the viewer in a vulnerable position. Over-the-shoulder and tracking shots. Evans and Flannery frequently use handheld over-the-shoulder shots to immerse the audience in real time. This is especially impactful during long, unbroken takes through hallways, alleys, or stairwells. The camera moves with the protagonist, blurring the line between viewer and character. Disorienting angles in fight scenes. During violent encounters, the camera often rotates or sways with the action, simulating dizziness, panic, and exhaustion. These choices aren't flashy but grounded. They reflect what the character is feeling in that exact moment. 2. Lighting, atmosphere, morality, and emotional contrast. The lighting design in Havoc is instrumental in creating the film's visual identity. The city itself is often drenched in darkness, with flickers of artificial light breaking through, neon signs, street lamps, flickering bulbs. This creates a chiaroscuro effect that reflects the blurred moral lines within the story. Low-key lighting. Most of the film uses minimal, high-contrast lighting to emphasize shadow and ambiguity. This not only heightens tension but also reinforces the noir-like tone. It's particularly effective in scenes where Walker must navigate morally compromised spaces, both literally and psychologically. Natural lighting in emotional scenes. In contrast, emotionally intimate scenes, especially those involving the kidnapped boy or the female informant, are often lit with soft, naturalistic light. These moments feel warmer, more human, offering a brief respite from the surrounding violence. Use of color temperature. Cold blues and grays dominate much of the film, contributing to the bleakness of the city and Walker's isolation. However, warmer tones appear in scenes involving human connection or truth, subtly highlighting the emotional peaks of the film. 3. Framing, isolation, confinement, and control. Flannery's framing choices are meticulous and often symbolic. Framing through windows, doorways, and grates. These recurring visual motifs suggest surveillance, entrapment, and the idea of being constantly watched or imprisoned, literally and metaphorically. Walker is often shown boxed in by his environment, visually reinforcing his internal imprisonment. Negative space. In several scenes, characters are dwarfed by the urban landscape or positioned against wide walls, showing their smallness in the face of systemic decay. This is particularly effective in shots of Walker walking alone through abandoned buildings or crime-ridden streets. Mirrors and reflections. Used sparingly but effectively, reflections serve to hint at dual identities or psychological fracture. Walker's image appearing in shattered glass is one particularly powerful moment, a visual metaphor for his own broken moral compass. 4. Visually striking moments, cinematic standouts. Several scenes in Havoc stand out as visually arresting. The stairwell fight sequence. Shot in a long, uninterrupted take, this brutal scene uses handheld cinematography, harsh lighting, and tight framing to deliver not just choreography but storytelling through movement. The camera sways, drops, and backs away as punches land, making the viewer feel every hit. Nighttime rooftop standoff. Against the backdrop of a flickering skyline, this scene contrasts the cold city lights with the human intensity of a face-to-face confrontation. Strategic lighting silhouettes the characters, making them appear mythic, like lone warriors in a fallen world. The emotional motel scene. A quieter moment, beautifully lit with a single lamp and streetlight glow outside the window, shows Walker's emotional collapse. The stillness of the camera, combined with Hardy's raw performance, creates a scene that's both intimate and devastating. The final escape sequence through a burning warehouse. As fire and shadow dance together, the camera tracks Walker carrying the injured boy, with smoke obscuring vision and light constantly shifting. It's both chaotic and beautiful, a visual representation of salvation through suffering. 5. Cinematography as storytelling. Ultimately, the cinematography in Havoc does more than enhance, it tells the story. Every camera movement, light shift, or frame choice reflects character psychology, builds world immersion, and reinforces narrative themes. Tension, achieved through handheld tracking, tight framing, and deep shadows. Beauty, found in moments of stillness, symmetry, and contrast, reminding viewers that humanity persists even in ruin. Emotion, carried through framing and light, enabling actors' performances to speak louder than words. Conclusion, a visceral, visual masterwork. Under the direction of Gareth Evans and the lens of Matt Flannery, the cinematography of Havoc, 2025, becomes a storytelling instrument in its own right, shaping mood, escalating tension, and guiding the viewer through both violence and vulnerability. Visually, the film never lets you relax. It grips you, unsettles you, and occasionally, through a well-framed look or a soft beam of light, breaks your heart. This is cinematography with purpose, power, and poetry, and it plays a vital role in making Havoc not just a film to watch, but a film to feel. Havoc, 2025, Editing and Pacing Analysis, Third-Person Perspective. In Havoc, 2025, the editing and pacing are expertly handled, serving as silent but crucial forces behind the film's visceral impact and emotional grip. Edited by Gareth Evans himself, a rare but deliberate choice for a director of his caliber, the film's post-production rhythm reflects a carefully measured approach, one that balances brutal action, psychological depth, and atmospheric tension. Rather than relying on overcutting or generic Hollywood editing formulas, Havoc uses deliberate pacing and organic transitions to deepen immersion, guide emotion, and elevate narrative clarity. Every cut has a purpose. Every beat contributes to tone and character development. 1. Overall flow, a controlled descent into chaos. From start to finish, Havoc maintains a deliberate and evolving rhythm, structured to mirror the protagonist's journey. The film flows in 3 distinct but organically connected phases. Act I, methodical and atmospheric. The first act unfolds at a deliberate pace. Establishing shots linger. Conversations are allowed to breathe. Transitions between locations are unhurried. This creates a heavy, tense atmosphere, one where the viewer is meant to feel the weight of the environment and the protagonist's internal struggle. Editing choices here favor longer takes, fewer cuts, and steady rhythm, enhancing immersion and allowing viewers to absorb the moral complexity of the world. Act 2, rising intensity and tighter transitions. As the investigation deepens and violence escalates, the editing begins to tighten. Cross-cutting becomes more frequent, especially during scenes that juxtapose Walker's progress with the movements of criminals, corrupt cops, or the kidnapped child. Transitions between scenes are still smooth but increasingly urgent. The rhythm becomes more pulsed and tense, reflecting rising stakes and narrative momentum. Act 3, relentless and rapid, but controlled. The final act is the most intense, a non-stop descent into chaos and confrontation. The editing becomes sharper, faster, and more kinetic, but never disorienting. Action scenes are allowed to play out in long takes, often without interruption, giving them weight and believability. Despite the rising tempo, Evans avoids the trap of chaotic quick cutting. Instead, the editing style emphasizes continuity, geography, and emotional stakes, keeping viewers engaged and emotionally grounded even in the film's most violent moments. 2. Seamless transitions, visual and emotional connectivity. One of Havoc's greatest strengths is its seamless scene-to-scene flow. Rather than abrupt or mechanical cuts, the film often uses visual or sound-based match cuts, tonal shifts, and spatial awareness to transition smoothly between moments. Examples include a loud gunshot bleeding into a quiet, reflective moment, a door slamming in one scene cutting to a door opening in another, overlapping dialogue or ambient city sounds used as audio bridges between locations. These techniques maintain immersion and emotional continuity, helping the viewer feel connected to the story at all times. 3. Action scene editing, rhythm, clarity, brutality. Evans' background in action filmmaking is most evident in the editing of combat and chase sequences. Unlike many modern action films that use excessive cuts and shaky cam, Havoc commits to clarity and momentum. Fight scenes are edited to feel exhausting and real. They linger just long enough to make viewers feel the weight of each blow without overstaying their welcome. Chase sequences, especially a tense foot pursuit through back alleys, use rapid but logical cutting, establishing geography and urgency simultaneously. Evans often cuts on motion and impact, giving a rhythmic tempo to the action without making it feel choreographed or artificial. Most impressively, the editing ensures emotional continuity within action. For example, if a fight ends with a moral revelation or a character's death, the edit lingers just a second longer to let the emotion land, instead of cutting away too quickly. 4. Emotional beats, space and silence. The film also knows when not to cut. In moments of loss, reflection, or trauma, Evans allows the camera to rest. Silence is embraced. These pauses give the film emotional depth and prevent action fatigue. A few standout scenes. Walker sitting alone in a motel room after a betrayal, held in an uninterrupted take as he processes his guilt. A quiet moment between Walker and the kidnapped boy, edited to emphasize stillness, eye contact, and vulnerability. Such moments, positioned strategically throughout the film, are made more impactful by the contrast with the frenetic pacing around them. 5. Does the pacing ever falter? For most of its runtime, Havoc maintains a compelling balance. However, some viewers unfamiliar with Gareth Evans' style may find the first act slightly slow, especially if expecting a traditional fast-paced action film. This slower build-up is a deliberate stylistic choice, designed to create atmosphere and establish character. For those patient enough to absorb it, the payoff is significant in the second and third acts. In contrast, the third act is relentless, but thanks to consistent geography and emotional grounding, it never feels rushed or excessive. 6. Narrative rhythm, the architecture of tension. The film's editing carefully builds a narrative rhythm that oscillates between investigation and discovery, confrontation and retreat. introspection and violence. This push-and-pull dynamic keeps the audience emotionally engaged while reflecting the protagonist's mental and moral state. The rhythm is almost musical, measured beats of action, interspersed with quieter, human moments. It's a storytelling structure that feels organic, cinematic, and emotionally layered. Conclusion: editing with purpose, pacing with precision. In Havoc, 2025, the editing and pacing work in perfect harmony with the film's themes, tone, and character arcs. Gareth Evans, serving both as director and editor, crafts a film that flows with narrative confidence, never dragging, never rushing, and always prioritizing clarity, tension, and emotional resonance. The result is a cinematic rhythm that feels alive, a heartbeat that accelerates with danger, pauses for pain, and surges with purpose. It's editing that enhances storytelling, action that breathes, and pacing that respects both audience intelligence and emotional engagement. Havoc, 2025, soundtrack and score analysis, third-person perspective. In Havoc, 2025, the soundtrack and original score play a vital yet restrained role in amplifying the film's emotional impact, building tension, and guiding the viewer through a harsh and unforgiving narrative world. The music, composed by Arya Prayogi and Faja Yuskamal, who previously collaborated with Gareth Evans on the Raid franchise, reflects a deliberate blend of atmospheric soundscapes, industrial textures, and emotional minimalism. Evans' choice to reunite with these composers once again results in a score that doesn't merely accompany the visuals. It enhances, shapes, and at times drives the experience, particularly in key moments of dread, violence, and redemption. 1. Thematic approach, atmosphere over melody. Unlike many conventional action films that rely on bold, bombastic orchestration, Havoc's score takes a more ambient and textural approach. The music is designed to bleed into the environment rather than stand apart from it, aligning perfectly with the film's gritty and realistic tone. No sweeping hero themes or recognizable leitmotifs dominate the film. Instead, subtle motifs, built on repetitive bass pulses, ominous synths, and slow percussive rhythms, recur quietly in the background, reinforcing a sense of unease. This minimalism reflects Detective Walker's inner numbness, allowing the viewer to feel tension and emotion without being overtly guided by melody. The result is a soundtrack that feels like an extension of the city itself, cold, distant, but always humming with danger. 2. Use of silence, tension through absence. One of the most powerful aspects of Havoc's audio design is its strategic use of silence. In many scenes, particularly during investigations or emotional standoffs, the music drops out entirely, replaced by ambient city noise, breathing, or complete stillness. This absence of music forces the viewer to sit with the character's discomfort, fear, or guilt. For example, a motel room scene where Walker quietly reflects on a betrayal is left completely unscored. A sequence where the kidnapped boy hides from his captors features only subtle environmental sounds, increasing the viewer's anxiety and identification with the character. Rather than heightening every moment with sound, the film uses silence as a weapon, building atmosphere and realism while allowing emotional beats to land with greater weight. 3. Tension building and action scoring, pulse-pounding minimalism. When Havoc shifts into action mode, the score follows suit, but with precision rather than excess. Fight scenes and chases are often underscored with low-frequency bass pulses, distant industrial clangs, and accelerating electronic rhythms that build tension without drowning the physicality of the scene. Music swells only when necessary, often peaking just before or after a key impact rather than during it. This technique emphasizes anticipation and consequence, rather than glorifying the action itself. One standout sequence includes a brutal stairwell fight. The music begins with subtle droning tones, slowly escalating with rising percussion as the scene grows more intense. Instead of a triumphant action cue, the sound design leans into chaos and struggle, making the violence feel exhausting, not entertaining. This unconventional approach makes the action more immersive and emotionally charged, and prevents desensitization. 4. Emotional underscoring, sparse but impactful. While much of Havoc's score is rooted in tension and dread, it also makes room for brief but powerful emotional cues, used only when the story truly earns them. Human connection scenes, such as those between Walker and the kidnapped boy, are accompanied by subtle piano chords or ambient synth swells, adding a fragile warmth to an otherwise brutal narrative. A late-scene moment, where Walker chooses to defy orders and protect the child, features one of the score's most melodic passages, a soft, rising harmonic progression that reflects personal redemption and sacrifice. Because the score is so minimal for most of the film, these few emotional moments stand out more powerfully, offering genuine catharsis. 5. Soundtrack versus diegetic music, authenticity maintained. Havoc rarely incorporates licensed tracks or overt non-diegetic music. However, when diegetic sound, i.e., music from within the scene, is used, it serves thematic purposes. A crackling radio in a rundown apartment. Faint hip-hop or grime playing from a passing car. Muffled club music heard during an infiltration scene. These uses of in-world music never break immersion. Instead, they subtly reinforce the setting's cultural and socio-economic reality. 6. Final act, score and emotion collide. The final 20 minutes of the film represent the most sonically intense portion of the soundtrack. The score ramps up in volume and complexity, blends percussive tension with distorted strings, symbolizing Walker's desperation and inner unraveling. Ends with a long, drawn-out ambient track during the film's final shot, lingering as the credits begin, letting the emotional consequences of the story echo in the viewer's mind. This careful design ensures that the score not only supports the story but extends its emotional reach even after the film ends. Conclusion: a masterfully restrained score. The soundtrack and score of Havoc, 2025, are not designed to entertain. They are designed to disturb, evoke, and reinforce. Through minimalist sound design, ambient tension, and strategic silence, composers Arya Prayogi and Faja Yuskamal create a sonic world that mirrors the film's emotional and moral terrain. The score doesn't overpower the film, it blends into its fabric. It gives weight to action, gravity to character choices, and breathes through the spaces between dialogue. Whether through a haunting synth line or a perfectly timed silence, the music of Havoc serves as an invisible guide, pushing the viewer deeper into the film's world, without ever pulling attention away from it. Havoc, 2025, Themes and Messages Analysis, Third-Person Perspective. Beneath the surface of Havoc, 2025, a film filled with brutal action, police corruption, and criminal underworlds, lies a rich exploration of deeper themes that elevate it beyond the boundaries of a traditional crime thriller. Under the direction of Gareth Evans, the film becomes a study of moral decay, institutional rot, personal redemption, and the struggle to hold onto humanity in an inhumane world. These ideas are not spoon-fed or presented through dialogue-heavy exposition. Instead, they are woven subtly into the characters' decisions, the environments they navigate, and the consequences they face. The result is a film that offers a visceral experience with philosophical weight, one that lingers long after the credits roll. 1. Moral corruption and institutional collapse. At its core, Havoc is a story about a system that has failed, and the individuals left to survive in its ruins. The film paints a portrait of a city where justice is bought, police are compromised, and criminals operate with impunity, often in alliance with those meant to stop them. This theme is embodied by the protagonist, Detective Walker, Tom Hardy, a man who has spent years navigating and benefiting from this broken system, only to find himself at odds with it when a line is finally crossed. Through this setting, Havoc explores how power corrupts from the top down, and how good men are either broken by the system or forced to become part of it. Walker's descent into chaos becomes a metaphor for moral erosion, and the near impossibility of redemption when the system itself is rotten. Key moments. Conversations between Walker and his superiors reveal the extent of the corruption, masked behind bureaucracy and empty morality. The kidnapping of a politician's son, while seemingly random, exposes the nexus between crime and politics, reinforcing the message that power structures often protect the guilty more than the innocent. 2. Redemption and the cost of conscience. A powerful undercurrent throughout the film is the theme of personal redemption. Walker's journey is not just external, finding the boy and uncovering the truth, but internal, a reckoning with the choices he has made, the people he's betrayed, and the lives lost due to his silence. As he uncovers the conspiracy, he realizes he is not just chasing criminals, he is atoning. Each step forward is both an investigation and an act of personal penance. What makes this arc compelling is that redemption in Havoc is not easy, clean, or certain. It is a brutal process, filled with blood and sacrifice. The film suggests that in a world so deeply broken, doing the right thing may come too late, but choosing to try still matters. Notable scenes. Walker's decision to protect the informant, knowing it will cost him his badge, is a turning point. His interaction with the kidnapped boy reflects his growing desire to protect innocence, something he has long since lost in himself. 3. The weight of violence. While Havoc is filled with expertly choreographed action, it never glorifies violence. Instead, it uses violence to explore the psychological and emotional consequences it leaves behind. Each fight is not entertainment, but a revelation of character. The physical toll mirrors the spiritual decay. Victories don't feel triumphant. They feel necessary, painful, and at times tragic. The film thus challenges the viewer to consider: what is the cost of survival in a violent system? Can someone who uses violence ever be a hero? This is emphasized through the film's sound design, cinematography, and pacing, allowing space for the consequences of each violent act to land emotionally. 4. Trust, betrayal, and human connection. Another recurring theme in Havoc is the search for trust in a world full of betrayal. Walker learns that he can no longer rely on the institution he serves. He must decide whether to trust strangers, the informant, the boy, a whistleblower, when trust has only ever led to danger or betrayal in his past. This theme is illustrated through interpersonal dynamics. A subtle emotional bond grows between Walker and the kidnapped child. Their connection becomes the emotional anchor of the film, a symbol of hope amidst destruction. The informant character, who risks her life for truth, shows that courage often comes from the powerless, while those in power hide behind lies. 5. Order versus chaos, a city on the edge. The film's title, Havoc, is no accident. It represents not just the state of the city, but the psychological unraveling of its inhabitants. The central message seems to be that when institutions crumble, people either become monsters or heroes by necessity. Walker begins as someone maintaining order through compromised means. But as the chaos spirals, he must confront the question: is he fighting to restore order, or simply trying not to be swallowed by the madness? This dichotomy plays out visually. Urban decay, shadowy alleyways, and tight, chaotic spaces represent the emotional claustrophobia of the characters. Scenes that emphasize light, open spaces, and silence occur only during moments of honesty or emotional clarity, highlighting the idea that truth offers rare moments of peace in a chaotic world. 6. Silence and suffering, what isn't said. One of Havoc's most effective thematic tools is restraint. Characters rarely express their inner turmoil in dialogue. Instead, the film relies on body language, facial expressions, and atmosphere to communicate deeper truths. This thematic minimalism reflects real life, where trauma is often endured in silence, and where not speaking says more than words ever could. This choice enhances the message that in a world of noise and conflict, true meaning is often found in moments of quiet, in the decision to act, not just to speak. 7. A reflection of our times. Lastly, Havoc serves as a reflection of modern anxieties. The fear that corruption is permanent, that truth can be buried, and that even the good guys are just surviving. Yet, the film also offers a sliver of hope, that even in a ruined system, individual choices still matter. It reminds viewers that heroism isn't about perfection, it's about persistence, about doing the right thing even when it won't fix everything. Conclusion: a visceral thriller with soul. Havoc, 2025, is more than a crime thriller. Beneath the bloodshed and bullet wounds is a meditation on guilt, redemption, truth, and the collapse of moral structure. Gareth Evans delivers not just a gripping action film, but a story that asks difficult questions and refuses to offer easy answers. The themes are never forced. They grow organically from the world, the characters, and their decisions. By the end, Havoc leaves audiences not just entertained, but haunted, contemplating justice, consequence, and the human cost of survival. Havoc, 2025, visual effects and CGI analysis, third-person perspective. In Havoc, 2025, visual effects and CGI are employed with surgical precision and restraint. Rather than overwhelming the screen with computer-generated spectacle, director Gareth Evans opts for a grounded approach where practical effects dominate and digital enhancements are used only to serve realism, tension, and believability. This minimalistic yet impactful strategy makes the film's gritty urban world feel lived in, dangerous, and authentic, a crucial factor in delivering both the emotional and visceral weight the story demands. 1. VFX philosophy, realism over spectacle. Unlike many modern action thrillers that lean heavily on CGI for spectacle, Havoc uses visual effects invisibly, that is, not to dazzle but to deepen immersion. The viewer may not always be aware that VFX are present, which is a testament to their subtle execution and flawless integration. Explosions, blood splatter, muzzle flashes, and environmental destruction are often enhanced with CGI, but always layered over real practical groundwork. The film avoids glossy or hyper-stylized effects. Instead, The visual effects match the film's grimy, handheld aesthetic, ensuring tonal consistency. This choice reflects Evans' commitment to raw authenticity, where even enhanced scenes feel grounded in reality. 2. Practical effects, the backbone of Havoc's brutality. One of the most impressive aspects of Havoc is its reliance on practical effects, especially in action, stunt work, makeup, and set destruction. Fight scenes and stunts. Hand-to-hand combat is executed with brutal precision, relying on real physical choreography, breakaway props, and timed squibs for blood effects to sell each hit. In sequences like the infamous stairwell brawl, almost everything is real. Broken furniture, collapsing stair rails, and bloody impacts are created physically, with VFX used only to enhance or clean up. Injury and gore effects. Cuts, bruises, gunshots, and bodily trauma are created using prosthetics and special makeup, which makes the violence feel disturbingly real. CGI is used only to extend or clean certain injuries, e.g., exit wounds or slow-motion blood mist, but never to replace them. This practical approach increases the emotional impact of the violence, making each injury feel consequential rather than cartoonish. 3. Digital effects, seamless and supportive. While Havoc may not rely on CGI in the traditional blockbuster sense, it uses digital effects subtly and strategically. Environmental enhancements. Scenes shot in real urban environments are digitally altered to appear more rundown, smoky, or post-riot, including enhanced debris, fire damage, or atmospheric particles like ash and dust. Certain locations are digitally extended to add a sense of urban sprawl or decay. Rooftops, alleyways, and industrial sites feel more vast or dangerous due to CGI set extensions. Fire and explosion effects. In a key third-act warehouse sequence, a combination of real fire elements and digital flame extensions are used to enhance danger without putting actors at unnecessary risk. The explosions, while grounded, are digitally composite to ensure proper scale and control, yet they feel tactile and grounded due to accompanying real debris and heat distortion effects. Blood and ballistics. Digital blood spray and muzzle flashes are used sparingly but effectively, especially during chaotic gunfights where practical squibs are impractical. These digital effects are toned to match the film's grim palette, avoiding the hyper-red, overly glossy blood used in less restrained films. 4. CGI versus practical, a harmonious blend. What truly sets Havoc apart in terms of visual effects is the harmony between CGI and practical work. One never overshadows the other. Instead, they complement each other to enhance immersion and realism. In most instances, CGI is used to augment rather than create, making physical sets more dangerous, stunts more intense, and violence more impactful. The integration is so seamless that the viewer rarely questions what is real and what is digital, a testament to both the VFX artists and Gareth Evans' editorial restraint. This approach preserves the film's grounded tone, ensuring that viewers remain emotionally and physically present in the action rather than detached by spectacle. 5. Atmospheric effects, building a visual mood. The film's visual tone, rainy, smoke-filled, shadowy, is amplified through atmospheric VFX, which add mood without calling attention to themselves. Rain, fog, steam, and urban haze are digitally layered into outdoor and alleyway shots, intensifying the noir-like aesthetic. These effects help create a sense of confinement and claustrophobia, making the city feel suffocating and morally polluted. One especially effective use of VFX occurs in the nighttime rooftop scenes, where digital haze and lens flares blend with neon reflections to produce a mood that is simultaneously haunting and cinematic. 6. Does the VFX ever distract? The short answer, no. At no point does Havoc feel like a CGI-heavy production. Instead, the effects serve the story and the emotional truth of each moment. Even in moments where one might expect digital overuse, explosions, fire, vehicle crashes, the effects are balanced with practical cues, giving the sequences weight and tactility. If anything, viewers may walk away not even noticing how much VFX were used, which is the ultimate complement to the film's execution. Conclusion of subtle, seamless, and story-driven VFX. In Havoc, 2025, visual effects are not used to distract or overwhelm. They are used intelligently, as invisible tools to support real-world action, grounded tension, and character-driven storytelling. The balance between practical grit and digital polish results in a cinematic experience that feels authentic, dangerous, and emotionally raw. It is a shining example of how VFX, when used with purpose and restraint, can enhance immersion rather than break it. Gareth Evans and his post-production team have crafted a film where every bullet, fire burst, and scar feels real. Not because the VFX shout, but because they whisper exactly when and where they should. Would you like this converted into a YouTube voiceover script, broken into narration-friendly parts, or translated into Urdu English for facts and review? I'd be glad to help tailor it for your channel's style. Havoc, 2025, a set design and locations analysis, third-person perspective. In Havoc, 2025, production design and location choices are not just background elements. They are a crucial storytelling tool. Under the direction of Gareth Evans and the vision of the film's art and design departments, the environments where the story unfolds are gritty, immersive, and emotionally charged. Every alley, apartment, interrogation room, and street corner contributes to the film's central themes: urban decay, institutional corruption, and the personal toll of violence. From decaying cityscapes to dimly lit tenements, the set design gives Havoc its unfiltered aesthetic and grounds the story in a realistic, almost tactile world. 1. A city on the brink, the urban landscape as character. Set in a fictional yet recognizable modern city, a hybrid of industrial decay and urban neglect, Havoc makes its setting feel like a living, breathing entity. The city itself is both setting and symbol, reflecting the psychological descent of the characters and the collapsing moral fabric of its institutions. The film was shot on location in Wales, with production making extensive use of real-world abandoned buildings, industrial sites, and narrow urban alleyways. These locations were enhanced with production design elements: trash piles, broken signage, graffiti, and boarded-up doors, to give the impression of a post-corruption, pre-collapse metropolis. The use of concrete, steel, and shattered glass dominates the visual palette, evoking a sense of permanent ruin, where both the city and its people are barely holding together. This decaying urban environment contributes to a tone of claustrophobia and moral entropy, aligning perfectly with the film's thematic core. 2. Interior design, character through space. Much of the film takes place inside small, often grim locations that feel intimate and oppressive. Walker's apartment. Sparse, dimly lit, and covered in muted tones. Books, empty pill bottles, and personal relics hint at a broken past. The space reflects Walker's internal state, disconnected, burdened, and haunted. Safe houses, motels, and interrogation rooms. These are styled with realism and decay, peeling paint, rusted fixtures, flickering lights. They visually echo the desperation and secrecy that define the underworld. Props like analog surveillance equipment, smuggled weapons, and evidence boards add a layer of functional authenticity. Political and police spaces. In stark contrast, City Hall offices and police headquarters are cold, sterile, and intimidating, reflecting bureaucratic indifference and systemic rot. The use of fluorescent lighting and sharp geometric design emphasizes order-masking corruption. Each interior serves not only as a backdrop but as a psychological reflection of its inhabitants. 3. Action set pieces, designed for brutality and realism. Many of Havoc's most memorable sequences occur in carefully constructed practical sets, designed to enable Evans' trademark long takes and brutal choreography. Stairwell Brawl Set. This multi-floor apartment interior, likely built or modified on a soundstage, is tight, vertical, and crumbling, creating a brutal, close-quarters environment for hand-to-hand combat. The set features functional doors, breakaway furniture, collapsing walls, and dynamic lighting rigs to support immersive cinematography. Warehouse Finale. The abandoned warehouse used in the climax is both massive and detailed. Industrial machinery, scaffolding, and debris give it a lived-in, dangerous feel. The space allows for vertical movement, fire effects, and strategic camera placement, maximizing cinematic tension. These sets were not designed just for aesthetics. They were built for narrative function and physical storytelling, enabling stunts and emotional beats to unfold organically. 4. Environmental symbolism, meaning through space. The film often uses physical environments to mirror or foreshadow character arcs and themes. Narrow alleyways represent entrapment and narrowing choices. Rooftop confrontations symbolize moments of clarity or moral crossroad, standing above the corruption, if only briefly. Underground tunnels and basements are used in scenes of confession or confrontation, symbolizing descent into truth or violence. This symbolic use of space adds depth and invites visual interpretation, enriching the film beyond surface-level action. 5. Color palette and texture, visual consistency across locations. The production design team works closely with cinematographer Matt Flannery to ensure that each set or location aligns with the film's muted, almost monochrome visual tone. Colors are desaturated, concrete grays, sickly greens, tarnished browns. Textures are rough and layered, rusted metal, cracked plaster, fogged glass. Props like faded newspapers, half-lit signage, and broken electronics enhance the sense that this world was once functional, but has long since stopped caring. Even exterior scenes maintain a consistent visual identity, with overcast skies, wet streets, and flickering neon establishing a tone that is both modern and timelessly noir. 6. Practicality and immersion. Real spaces with real weight. Perhaps most impressive is that Havoc rarely feels like a movie set. The use of real-world locations, combined with meticulous art direction, makes the city feel lived in and layered. Garbage bins overflowing with forgotten flyers. Stairwells covered in water damage and mismatched tiles. Public infrastructure, buses, subways, police cruisers, aged and neglected, not shiny and cinematic. This commitment to realism in design makes the world feel immersive and urgent. It allows the audience to believe in this city, not as a stylized metaphor, but as a frighteningly possible version of our own. Conclusion: a world built on decay and truth. In Havoc, 2025, the set design and filming locations do far more than provide background. They shape the narrative, reflect character, and communicate unspoken truths. Gareth Evans and his production team construct a world that is authentic, oppressive, and emotionally charged, giving the film its distinct tone and lasting impact. From crumbling stairwells to soulless government offices, each space tells a story. Each prop, texture, and lighting choice adds emotional weight and narrative momentum. The result is a visual environment that feels like a character in itself, silently witnessing every act of betrayal, violence, and redemption. Havoc, 2025. Dialogue and script analysis, third-person perspective. In Havoc, 2025, the dialogue and script, crafted under the meticulous eye of writer-director Gareth Evans, are purposefully restrained, grounded, and emotionally loaded. The film doesn't rely on grand monologues or overly poetic exchanges. Instead, its power lies in what is said with brevity, and often, what's left unsaid. Evans, known for his action-focused storytelling in the Raid series, takes a more dramatic turn here, crafting a script that emphasizes realism, moral ambiguity, and psychological weight. The characters in Havoc speak like real people, terse, measured, sometimes broken, often guarded. Yet within these quiet exchanges are lines that linger, revealing deeper emotional truths. 1. Realism in dialogue, gritty and unpolished. The first noticeable trait in Havoc's dialogue is its raw authenticity. The conversations reflect the environment, a city steeped in corruption, fear, and exhaustion. Characters speak economically. There are few wasted words. Conversations unfold naturally, often haltingly, with overlapping tension and subtext. The use of colloquial language, street slang, and procedural jargon adds realism without alienating the audience. This grounded approach makes the world feel tangible and keeps viewers immersed. Every word has purpose, and silences often speak louder than speech. 2. Emotional depth, dialogue that cuts beneath the surface. Despite its brevity, the script is far from shallow. When emotions rise, Havoc delivers quiet but devastating lines, the kind that resonate long after the scene ends. A few standout examples. Walker to a young informant. You think they'll remember what you did? They won't. But you'll remember every second of it. A line that underscores the loneliness of choosing the right path in a corrupt world. Antagonist to Walker. You wear that badge like it's armor. It's a leash, and you never even felt it tighten. A powerful metaphor revealing how authority and loyalty can become tools of manipulation. Walker's monologue, one of the few extended speeches, near the climax. There's no saving this place. All I can do is leave something behind that's not as broken as me. A line that encapsulates his entire redemption arc, filled with guilt and resolve. These moments are not overwrought. Their strength lies in emotional restraint, a theme consistent throughout the film. 3. Subtext and silence, the script's greatest weapon. One of the most effective aspects of Havoc's script is its mastery of subtext. Characters often communicate through glances, pauses, or what they avoid saying. A silent moment between Walker and the kidnapped child, where no words are exchanged, only mutual recognition and trust, speaks volumes. In interrogation scenes, characters will often say the opposite of what they feel, creating tension between dialogue and intention. The script respects the audience's intelligence. It doesn't over-explain or spell out emotions. Instead, it lets the visuals and performance fill the gaps, allowing viewers to interpret and feel more deeply. 4. Thematic dialogue, words that echo the film's messages. Evans laces the script with thematic threads about corruption, justice, redemption, and violence. These are subtly reinforced through recurring phrases or contrasting beliefs among characters. Phrases like "there's no clean way out" or "no one's innocent here" recur throughout the film, reinforcing its morally grey atmosphere. Some lines, repeated in different contexts, take on new meaning. For example, "do what you have to do," spoken once by a corrupt superior as a veiled threat, and later by a victim as a plea for justice. These verbal echoes bind the story's emotional and thematic arcs, creating cohesion across character journeys and narrative threads. 5. Character-driven writing, distinct voices, consistent tone. Each major character in Havoc speaks with a unique voice, defined by their background, position, and trauma. Walker, Tom Hardy reserved, weary, often terse. He rarely says more than necessary, and his lines are punctuated with self-loathing and cynicism. The informant, fast-talking, emotionally frayed, led with streetwise defiance and buried vulnerability. The politician, eloquently deceptive. His lines are wrapped in rehearsed sincerity, masking ruthless ambition. This distinction in character dialogue helps define who each person is, without the need for exposition. The script reveals character through speech rhythm, vocabulary, tone, and silence. 6. Wit and sharpness, fleeting, but effective. Although Havoc is a serious, emotionally heavy film, the script occasionally punctuates scenes with dry wit or biting sarcasm, usually as a coping mechanism or power play. A police officer quips, "Congratulations, you've just climbed the ladder, straight into the fire." A drug lord sneers, "This city chews up saints and sinners the same. The only difference is who looks surprised." These lines offer momentary relief and humanize the characters without shifting the film's grim tone. 7. The script structure, lean, focused, and visually driven. The screenplay itself is tight and efficient, often allowing visual storytelling to do much of the work. Evans trusts his direction and actors to convey meaning with minimal verbal clutter. Dialogue scenes are short and purpose-driven. Exposition is woven organically into conversations or discovered through investigation, never dumped. The climax features a rare moment of extended dialogue, where characters confront hard truths, used sparingly to avoid emotional overload. This structural discipline enhances the film's pacing, emotional build-up, and cinematic clarity. Conclusion: dialogue that bleeds with truth. Havoc, 2025, presents a script that is subtle but sharp, restrained but rich. Gareth Evans crafts dialogue that mirrors the film's bleak world, where people have learned to speak cautiously, if at all, and where silence often carries the heaviest meaning. The script's strength lies in its minimalism, emotional precision, and thematic layering. Characters reveal themselves not through what they say, but how, and what they choose to hide. It's a rare action film where words feel as dangerous and deliberate as bullets, and where a single sentence can echo like a gunshot. Would you like this rewritten as a voiceover script for your YouTube channel Facts and Review? I can convert it into a more conversational tone in Urdu-English hybrid for narration or split it into segments ideal for video pacing. Havoc, 2025. Genre Execution Analysis, Third-Person Perspective. Havoc, 2025, is best described as a gritty crime thriller with deep roots in neo-noir, action drama, and psychological realism. Directed by Gareth Evans, known for redefining action with the Raid films, the movie delivers genre familiarity while skillfully subverting traditional tropes and infusing emotional depth into what could have been a formulaic premise. The result is a film that doesn't merely fit into one genre box. It expands the possibilities of action storytelling by prioritizing character, moral ambiguity, and realism over spectacle or predictability. 1. Crime thriller roots, a solid foundation. At its core, Havoc follows the classic crime thriller formula. A city corrupted by crime and politics. A lone detective navigating a web of deceit. A high-stakes mission to rescue a kidnapped figure while unraveling a deeper conspiracy. These elements position Havoc alongside genre classics like 7 Yann, Training Day, and LA Confidential. However, what makes the film stand out is how it refuses to glorify the action or simplify the morality. Instead of a straight cop versus criminal dynamic, Havoc explores police complicity in crime, institutional betrayal, the emotional decay of its so-called hero, This adds a neo-noir complexity rarely seen in modern action-driven films. 2. Subversion of genre conventions. Rather than following genre beats blindly, Havoc intentionally disrupts audience expectations. The hero is deeply flawed. Walker, Tom Hardy, is not a righteous figure seeking justice. He's haunted, morally compromised, and emotionally worn down. His arc is one of painful self-awareness, not triumphant victory. No clear villains or heroes. The film doesn't offer a clean divide between good and evil. Even the antagonists have motivations grounded in survival, politics, or desperation. The system is the real villain, faceless, entrenched, and irreversible. Minimal exposition. Unlike typical crime thrillers that rely on long expositional scenes, Havoc delivers most of its world-building visually, trusting viewers to keep up. Information is revealed through investigations, silences, and emotional cues, not plot dumps. 3. Action, brutal, grounded, and purposeful. Gareth Evans redefined modern martial arts action with The Raid, and in Havoc, he brings a more grounded, emotionally driven approach. The action is intense, bloody, and exhausting, but never flashy or indulgent. Fights are brutal because they reflect stakes, desperation, and physical cost, not because they are meant to thrill the audience. Each set piece serves a narrative and emotional purpose. A stairwell fight is not just kinetic spectacle. It represents Walker's ascent into personal hell. A gunfight in an abandoned warehouse is stripped of glory, focusing instead on survival and sacrifice. This approach ensures that action supports the story, rather than overshadowing it. 4. Suspense and tension, carefully sustained. Havoc succeeds as a slow-burning thriller, building suspense through atmosphere, dim lighting, urban decay, constant rain. Paranoia, characters who cannot be trusted, shifting alliances. Moral tension, situations where every choice has a cost. The suspense doesn't come from plot twists or jump scares, but from a growing sense that no one is safe, and justice may never be served. This tension is sustained with excellent pacing and visual storytelling, maintaining engagement without relying on traditional thriller cliches. 5. Drama, emotional weight over melodrama. Unlike many action thrillers, Havoc treats its emotional content with careful restraint. Characters are scarred, emotionally distant, and worn down, not melodramatic or exaggerated. The relationship between Walker and the kidnapped boy is treated with subtle warmth, offering quiet moments of humanity. Flashbacks and confrontations are emotionally loaded, but understated, avoiding overacting or manipulative music cues. The drama is internalized. Viewers feel the weight of loss, betrayal, and guilt without it being forced. 6. Humor, virtually absent by design. Havoc makes a bold decision. It almost completely forgoes humor. There are brief moments of dry, sardonic dialogue, but no comic relief characters or tone-breaking jokes. This maintains tonal consistency, ensuring the viewer never disconnects from the weight of the story. This may challenge audiences used to action films that balance tension with levity. However, in Havoc, this choice enhances the immersive bleakness and gives the film a rare seriousness in today's genre landscape. 7. Genre innovation. Noir meets post-raid realism. By blending classic noir tropes, a morally ambiguous detective, urban corruption, fatalism, with modern action brutality and emotional drama, Havoc creates a unique hybrid tone. It feels like a 1970s crime drama filtered through the lens of modern violence and post-9/11 cynicism. The result is a genre film that is visually grim, emotionally potent, and structurally innovative. Gareth Evans reinvents the crime action formula without rejecting it. Instead, he strips it down to its emotional and thematic core, then rebuilds it around character and truth. 8. Risks and rewards, for genre fans and beyond. Risks taken. Slow pacing for an action film. No traditional villain showdown. Focus on character trauma over resolution. Rewards delivered. Emotional authenticity. A rare sense of realism in a high-stakes genre. A new kind of action hero, not a savior, but a man trying to UN break himself. This makes Havoc appealing not just to genre fans, but to viewers who appreciate mature storytelling, morally complex characters, and cinematic craftsmanship. Conclusion, a bold, gritty genre reinvention. Havoc, 2025, is not just another action crime thriller. It is a carefully calibrated exploration of genre, honoring its foundations while carving a new path forward. Gareth Evans subverts expectations by focusing on pain over power, truth over triumph, and inner battles over external glory. Through brutal realism, noir atmosphere, and emotional restraint, Havoc delivers a film that is as viscerally thrilling as it is philosophically engaging. It doesn't redefine the genre by breaking all its rules. It redefines it by choosing the right ones to keep and the right ones to throw away. Would you like this turned into a script for your YouTube video, structured for narration with scene-by-scene references? I can also translate or mix it into Urdu English for your facts and review channel style. Havoc, 2025. Social and cultural commentary, third-person perspective. Beneath the bruised knuckles, shattered glass, and relentless violence of Havoc, 2025, lies a film that offers more than just action. Directed by Gareth Evans, the film subtly and effectively explores a range of contemporary social, political, and cultural issues, all embedded within its bleak, noir-infused narrative. Rather than sermonizing or moralizing, Havoc allows its commentary to emerge organically through character decisions, environmental design, and institutional behavior. It paints a world not too different from our own, one where systems meant to protect often perpetuate suffering, where truth is buried beneath power, and where redemption comes at great personal cost. 1. Institutional corruption and systemic decay. At its heart, Havoc is a critique of institutional failure, particularly within law enforcement, politics, and the justice system. The film portrays a police force that is complicit, compromised, and morally bankrupt. Officers protect criminals, fabricate evidence, and serve power, not justice. Politicians are shown as self-interested, image-obsessed, and willing to endanger lives to protect their secrets. The criminal world thrives not in spite of the system, but because it operates hand-in-hand with it. This mirrors real-world concerns about police misconduct, political collusion, and the erosion of public trust in state institutions. The film doesn't offer solutions. Instead, it reflects the despair and cynicism many feel towards structures that once promised order and fairness. 2. Class divide and urban neglect. The film's visual and thematic focus on urban decay is not incidental. The setting, a fictional, crime-ridden city, becomes a symbol of economic disparity and social abandonment. Wealthy elites appear in fortified mansions or polished government buildings, while the majority of the action unfolds in slums, cramped apartments, graffiti-stained stairwells, and derelict factories. The poor are disposable, used as informants, scapegoats, or pawns in political schemes. Drug trafficking and gang violence are shown as symptoms of deeper systemic issues, not just criminal choices. This reflects commentary on economic marginalization, urban decay, and how crime often flourishes in spaces where the state has withdrawn or failed. 3. Media manipulation and control of narrative. While not a central focus, Havoc introduces themes of media control and narrative engineering, especially in how the upper class manages public perception. Authorities spin stories to the media, framing events to protect reputations rather than reveal truth. The idea that truth is manufactured, that headlines serve the powerful, is reinforced through character dialogue and plot twists. This reflects contemporary anxieties about media bias, fake news, and the weaponization of information in political power games. 4. Masculinity, emotional suppression, and trauma. The protagonist, Detective Walker, Tom Hardy, embodies a damaged masculinity, hardened, emotionally shut down, driven by guilt but incapable of vulnerability. The film critiques toxic stoicism. Walker suffers in silence, his pain surfacing only in bursts of rage or self-destructive choices. He represents a broader commentary on how systems condition men, especially those in positions of authority, to repress emotion, avoid help, and equate control with strength. His eventual confrontation with his past and his guilt becomes a quiet rebellion against this model, suggesting that healing begins with vulnerability, not violence. This is a rare and refreshing angle in the action thriller genre, which often glorifies invulnerable heroes. Justice versus retribution. Havoc blurs the line between justice and revenge, raising complex moral questions. What does justice look like when the legal system is irreparably corrupt? Can retribution by individuals replace institutional justice, or does it perpetuate more violence? Walker's arc is a meditation on this dilemma. While he initially acts out of duty, his motivations shift toward personal penance, complicating the morality of his actions. The film refrains from offering easy answers, instead emphasizing the grayness of moral choices in a broken world. 6. Silence around marginalized voices. Throughout the film, working-class and minority characters are often seen but not heard, reflecting how such voices are often ignored or silenced in systems of power. The informant, a young woman from a poor neighborhood, risks everything to expose the truth, only to be betrayed by the very people she helps. Victims of violence are often nameless, lost in statistics, and used as narrative stepping stones for powerful characters. This commentary on systemic neglect and the dehumanization of the vulnerable adds emotional gravity to the story. The film uses this silence deliberately, forcing viewers to feel the absence of justice for the voiceless. 7. Political hypocrisy and power games. A key subplot involves a high-ranking political figure trying to bury a scandal linked to their family. This angle explores the facade of moral superiority in politics, often masking ruthless pragmatism. How laws are applied unevenly, with the powerful able to escape consequences, while the powerless bear the brunt. This resonates strongly in contemporary culture, where political accountability is increasingly rare and public outrage often fades before real change can occur. 8. Addiction, guilt, and mental health. Walker's character silently suffers from addiction, trauma, and psychological decline, another layer of the film's cultural relevance. Pills, alcohol, and sleepless nights fill his off-duty hours. His refusal to seek help reflects a broader commentary on mental health stigma, particularly within high-stress professions like policing. His act, from denial to painful awareness, mirrors many real-world struggles with unacknowledged trauma. Though the film never overtly discusses mental health, it is embedded in the narrative through visual cues and behavior, giving the story emotional realism and cultural weight. 9. Is the commentary forced or organic? The brilliance of Havoc lies in its subtlety. Unlike some socially conscious thrillers that stop the plot to deliver messages, Havoc integrates its commentary organically into visual design, urban decay, power imbalance, dialogue, subtle power dynamics, and systemic references, character arcs, Walker's moral erosion and failed redemption. The film allows viewers to absorb the message through implication, rather than explicit declaration. This makes its social critiques more powerful and believable, and less likely to alienate viewers looking for entertainment first. Conclusion: a thriller with a conscience. Havoc 2025 is more than just a dark and intense crime thriller. It is a mirror held up to modern society, reflecting back our fears about corruption, abandonment, and moral disintegration. Its social and cultural commentary is not loud or theatrical, but quietly devastating, woven through characters, choices, and consequences. By tackling issues like systemic injustice, political hypocrisy, class disparity, and psychological trauma, the film offers a layered cinematic experience that speaks to the world we live in and warns of what happens when no one is left to care. It's not just a story of one man fighting his demons. It's a story of a society that has long stopped fighting its own. Would you like this transformed into a YouTube narration script for your facts and review channel, with Urdu-English translation, voiceover pacing, or thumbnail line suggestions? I'd be happy to adapt it for your audience. Havoc 2025 Audience Engagement Analysis, Third-Person Perspective. Havoc 2025 is not just a film designed to entertain with brutal action and atmospheric tension. It is a cinematic experience carefully crafted to emotionally resonate, provoke introspection, and immerse the viewer in a morally complex world. Directed by Gareth Evans and anchored by a raw, haunting performance from Tom Hardy, the film strikes a powerful balance between visceral intensity and emotional gravity. From the opening scene to its ambiguous, emotionally charged conclusion, Havoc holds the audience in its grip, often without offering comfort. It's not a crowd pleaser in the traditional sense, but rather a film that demands emotional investment and rewards reflective viewing. 1. Emotional resonance, guilt, redemption, and despair. At its core, Havoc is a story about personal failure and the desperate search for redemption. This emotional thread gives the audience a human anchor, making the film much more than a typical crime thriller. Detective Walker's internal struggle, marked by guilt, trauma, and emotional detachment, strikes a chord with viewers familiar with stories of burnout, moral compromise, or loss. Scenes where Walker tries to connect with the boy he's rescuing are subtle yet deeply moving, especially as the audience begins to see him not as a hero, but as a man seeking one last chance to do something right. These emotional layers invite viewers to empathize with flawed characters, increasing the film's staying power long after the credits roll. 2. Visceral reactions, shock, tension, and catharsis. Gareth Evans' signature direction style ensures that Havoc evokes strong physical and emotional reactions throughout. Fight sequences are raw, brutal, and emotionally charged. Rather than choreographed spectacle, they feel like desperate survival struggles, creating genuine tension and discomfort. Several scenes, including the infamous stairwell brawl, the informant's fate, and the confrontation in the flooded basement, are designed to shock and unsettle. The pacing, music, and camera work build suspense with expert precision, leading to moments of catharsis, often followed by quiet emotional aftermaths that allow audiences to process what they've seen. Rather than relying on constant thrills, Havoc creates ebb and flow in engagement, intense highs balanced with reflective lows. 3. Thought-provoking themes, moral grayness and systemic decay. What sets Havoc apart from many genre films is its thematic richness. Audiences are not just engaged through plot, but through philosophical questions and real-world parallels. Is justice still meaningful in a broken system? Can one man's redemption outweigh a lifetime of silence or complicity? What does it mean to fight back when you're not sure who the enemy is? These underlying themes resonate with contemporary social anxieties, particularly about corruption, power, and mental health. Viewers are left not with simple answers, but with questions that spark conversation, making Havoc a film that lingers in the mind. Inviting discussion, a film worth talking about. Havoc is a film that demands post-viewing discussion. Whether in film forums, reviews, or social media spaces, audiences are drawn to unpack. The ambiguous ending. Was Walker truly redeemed? What was the cost? The portrayal of violence. Is it glorified, or is it a mirror held up to a violent society? The systemic criticism. How closely does this world reflect our own? The complexity of the characters, the layered themes, and the stylistic choices ensure that Havoc spurs debate, encouraging viewers to revisit scenes with new perspectives. 5. Rewatchability. A deeper experience each time. On first viewing, Havoc hits with intensity and dread. But it is on second and third viewings that the film truly reveals its layers. Subtle details in set design, character behavior, and visual symbolism emerge, particularly around Walker's past and the city's moral decay. Recurring dialogue lines take on new meaning in light of later revelations. Emotional scenes that felt quiet on first watch become devastatingly profound with context. This layered construction ensures Havoc is not just a watch-once-and-forget film. It's one that benefits from closer inspection, giving fans a reason to return and reanalyze. 6. Audience polarization, a dividing experience. Interestingly, Havoc may not resonate equally with all audiences, and that's by design. Viewers expecting a traditional action film with clear good versus evil arcs might find the morally ambiguous tone and slow-burn pacing unexpected. However, for those who appreciate subtle storytelling, layered performances, and gritty realism, the film delivers an experience that is emotionally and intellectually satisfying. This polarization only adds to the film's reputation as a conversation starter and a thinking person's thriller. 7. The power of silence, a unique emotional tool. One of Havoc's most impressive tools for audience engagement is its use of silence. Instead of over-explaining, the film often allows quiet scenes, Walker staring into a mirror, walking through rain-slicked alleyways, or tending to a wound, to speak volumes. These moments pull the audience inward, creating a more personal, introspective connection with the characters. The absence of dialogue in certain scenes enhances viewer empathy and immersion, especially when paired with the haunting score. 8. Cultural connection, speaking to the modern world. The film's themes of urban decay, systemic rot, media manipulation, and masculine emotional suppression speak directly to modern audiences, particularly in an age of disillusionment with authority and a growing demand for mental health awareness. Because of this, the film resonates not just as entertainment, but as a reflection of the world many viewers recognize or live in. This cultural relevance gives it emotional weight and societal impact far beyond the screen. Conclusion: a raw, reflective, and deeply engaging experience. Havoc, 2025, is not designed to provide comfort or escape. It's a film that pulls its audience into a world of trauma, tension, and moral reckoning. Its engagement comes not just from what happens on screen, but from what it asks viewers to feel, question, and confront within themselves. Through intense action, emotional subtlety, and thematic depth, Havoc creates an experience that is emotionally resonant, intellectually stimulating, and worthy of repeat viewings. For those who accept its invitation, the film becomes more than a story. It becomes a conversation that lingers long after the final frame. Would you like this turned into a voiceover script for your Facts and Review YouTube channel, or adapted into an Urdu-English hybrid narration? I can also prepare thumbnail titles or intro hooks based on this content. Havoc, 2025, are comparisons to similar films, third-person perspective. Havoc, 2025, emerges as a bold entry into the action-crime thriller genre, yet it is far from formulaic. Directed by Gareth Evans, the film is a departure from the relentless martial arts action of the Raid series, evolving into a gritty, character-driven noir that blends violent realism with emotional introspection. While comparisons to other films in the genre and the director's body of work are inevitable, Havoc manages to both honor and transcend genre conventions, offering something distinct in tone, style, and substance. 1. Compared to Gareth Evans' previous work, a shift in storytelling. Gareth Evans gained global acclaim for his Raid films, hyper-violent, expertly choreographed, and lean in narrative. Havoc, while retaining his knack for visceral action, signals a significant maturation of his directorial voice. Similarities. Evans' signature close-quarters combat, fluid camera work, and kinetic violence are still present, though more grounded. Like the Raid, Havoc immerses the viewer in a claustrophobic, dangerous environment, a city decaying from the inside out. Differences. Havoc is less concerned with pure adrenaline and more focused on emotional and psychological unraveling. Unlike the straightforward plots of his previous works, this film introduces moral ambiguity, character complexity, and thematic depth, including commentary on guilt, power, and systemic failure. This marks Havoc as a transitional film in Evans' career, retaining action mastery while evolving into neo-noir territory, proving his range as a storyteller. 2. Compared to classic crime thrillers, shades of noir and grit. In terms of genre, Havoc draws comparisons to hard-boiled detective stories and urban noir thrillers such as Jessie Yann, 1995. With its rain-soaked streets, bleak worldview, and disillusioned investigator, Havoc mirrors David Fincher's visual and thematic tone. However, whilst Jessie Yann focused on existential evil, Havoc explores personal guilt within systemic corruption. Training Day, 2001. Both films feature deeply flawed cops navigating morally grey decisions, though Havoc is more introspective and less sensational in tone. The Departed, 2006. Like Scorsese's crime epic, Havoc examines the blurred lines between law and criminality, though it lacks the ensemble scope and instead zeroes in on one man's decaying moral compass. While Havoc borrows from the visual and narrative DNA of these classics, it distinguishes itself by emphasizing emotional damage over plot twists, using action as a consequence of trauma, not just a plot device, eschewing glamour for brutal honesty and narrative sobriety. 3. Compared to recent neo-noir and action films, Havoc also stands alongside recent neo-noir films such as John Wick series. Though both feature protagonists with violent pasts, Havoc is far more grounded. It avoids stylization and myth-building, preferring realism over spectacle. Sicario, 2015. Both films portray the futility of fighting corruption from within. While Sicario uses geopolitical framing, Havoc is more urban and personal in scope. The Batman, 2022. Matt Reeves' gothic noir and Evans' urban thriller share themes of systemic rot, emotional repression, and slow-burn detective work. However, Havoc is stripped of any mythic grandeur. It is grittier, more violent, and far less hopeful. Compared to these, Havoc offers a more emotionally raw and physically punishing experience. There's no sleekness, no stylized kills, only exhaustion, pain, and consequence. 4. Compared to other Tom Hardy roles, a unique character arc. Tom Hardy has played many intense, emotionally scarred characters, from Mad Max to Venom to Warrior. In Havoc, he plays Detective Walker, a role that strips away charisma in favor of internalized trauma, avoids heroic tropes and instead leans into self-destruction and moral decay, demands understated vulnerability, marking it as one of Hardy's most restrained and mature performances. While characters like Bane or Alfie Solomons, in Peaky Blinders, emphasized physical or vocal dominance, Walker is notable for his haunted silence, making Hardy's performance feel distinct in its restraint. 5. Does it offer something new or follow familiar formulas? Familiar elements. Corrupt cops and criminal underworlds. A lone hero navigating violence and betrayal. A dark, rain-drenched cityscape. These tropes have been seen before, but Havoc reimagines them with purpose, using these elements not for cheap thrills, but to explore emotional damage, broken systems, and the cost of violence. Fresh contributions. Emotion-first action. Fight scenes are not just exciting. They are filled with psychological weight and desperation. Silence as storytelling, a rare choice in modern thrillers, letting atmosphere and expression do more than dialogue. Narrative realism. There's no final act save the day moment. Redemption is hard-won, uncertain, and deeply personal. Thus, Havoc doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it redefines the purpose of the wheel, choosing to slow down, look inward, and put character over chaos. 6. Position within its genre and audience expectation. For genre purists, Havoc may seem like a slow-burn character study disguised as an action film, which could surprise those expecting non-stop brutality like The Raid or John Wick. However, for viewers who appreciate emotional intensity, narrative ambiguity, real-world commentary, Havoc stands as a genre-elevating entry, proving that action thrillers can be just as intellectually and emotionally rich as they are physically intense. Conclusion: familiar roots, bold identity. Havoc, 2025, stands at the crossroads of genre tradition and innovation. While it shares visual and narrative elements with noir thrillers, gritty action films, and Gareth Evans' past work, it forges a distinct path, marked by emotional weight, thematic maturity, and stylistic restraint. In comparison to its cinematic peers, Havoc offers something refreshingly honest and unglamorous. A film where violence has consequence, heroes are broken, and redemption is not guaranteed. It isn't just a great action movie, it's a thoughtful, character-driven examination of what violence does to the soul, placing it among the most daring and mature genre entries of its time. Would you like this rewritten as a voiceover script or intro monologue for your Facts and Review YouTube channel? I can also create a comparison chart or visual outline for your video editing if needed. Havoc, 2025. Symbolism and Metaphors, Third-Person Perspective. Havoc, 2025, is far more than a gritty action thriller. Underneath its raw violence and noir atmosphere lies a film rich in symbolism and metaphor, masterfully crafted by director Gareth Evans to enhance the psychological and thematic weight of the narrative. Every frame, object, and moment of silence carries meaning, reinforcing the film's exploration of corruption, redemption, isolation, and moral decay. Rather than relying on exposition, Havoc allows its visual language and recurring motifs to speak volumes, creating a layered cinematic experience that rewards attentive viewers with deeper insight. 1. Rain, cleansing, decay, and emotional weight. Throughout Havoc, rain is a persistent environmental feature, not just for mood, but as a potent symbol of emotional and societal turbulence. Cleansing metaphor, rain often falls during key transitional moments, suggesting